All right, so welcome back to the third video in Module 2, the Science and Engineering Practices. And as we work through this, I hope it's making sense that this is what we want students doing with those facts. It's a minor shift. I'm sure students in your class have been doing these things. But for me to go to and make it my goal that, yep, this is my primary outcome, I am more concerned that they can show me this skill than a list of vocabulary or a multiple choice test. And that's really become my focus of my teaching, which is what I consider to be STEM. Okay. And so the third skills, the third set here of skills, and again, not in any particular order, okay, is constructing explanations, designing solutions, engaging in argument, but backing it up with evidence, and obtaining, evaluating, communicating information. Those are the three that we're going to talk about in this video. Okay. And so this idea of constructing explanations and designing solutions, if you think of design challenges, if you think of engineering and what engineers do, where I identify a problem and I give a solution, that's what we're talking about here. Okay. And so there are many ways you can incorporate this in your lessons, but it's simply giving kids tools and letting them solve problems. Okay. And these are examples of kids actually creating solutions. So how do I deal with the brightness of the sun in the snow? Well, the natives in Alaska solved that a long time ago with snow goggles. Okay. This is in the upper right. This is a lesson on how can I control the temperature. I've got temperature probes that measure the temperature. We actually stuck these devices that they were trying to, quote, insulate a battery, and stuck it inside dry ice and an oven, and then measure the temperature changes. And down in the lower left can be very simple. Can you build something? How can you build a tall structure, a wide structure, and what solutions? That practice of the design cycle of success and failure is really what we're working on here. Okay? And so maybe it's building bridges. Maybe it's taking things apart. Maybe it's giving kids in upper right, we gave them a toothbrush and said, make a robot, make it color for me. Solve that problem. I want it to be autonomous. Understanding how airplanes work, how electricity flows. It's really tough to do this if we don't let kids have things in their hands. Okay? And that's where maker spaces have become such a critical element of STEM. Letting kids make, take apart, build, fail, succeed, and work through the cycles. Okay? But it can show up in PE class. You can stack cups. Okay? It can show up in stacking, making towers of index cards. It can even show up in your theater group saying, oh, you want some costumes? Well, let's make them. Those are design challenges. I know what I want, but I don't know how to make it. Let's work that out. Okay. This is my classroom. Okay. You can see collection of tools. They're actually looking at VR here, virtual reality, part of some things we do, which is really computer thinking. Okay, but I put this in here to show you the tools on the wall, just stuff. And again, other versions of towers. Okay, so engaging in argument from evidence. Okay, so this idea that I need to give that argumentation, some back and forth dialogue. I agree with you, but here's the evidence. I try this. That's really the core of science. And so I go back to those scientist meetings. And students sitting around in a circle and saying, I think this is a solution. No, what do you think the solution is? Playing with variables in an equation, saying this one's more important than that one. Okay, students here design that solution to that thermodynamics problem. Okay, and now up top they're saying, oh, I don't know quite how to fit this together. That was the lesson there. Okay, it can be designing airplanes, and I'm simply asking the question, which one is the best? We got to start by defining best. That's a whole argument right there. It might be looking at models that they've created and say, which is the best model? Okay. And you quickly discover that it's all a matter of identifying what variable we are comparing. So the sticky notes on here are saying, oh, here's my thoughts on what's pluses and other ideas I have about your model of STEM. Okay. And the last one, passing on information, collecting, evaluating, and passing on information. Okay. And scientists have to be able to communicate. That whole idea of a tree falls in the forest and nobody hears it, who cares? And so scientists are constantly working on their ability to communicate. And we have to work with our students to communicate ideas. Okay. And that may be making graphs, it's making models, it's displaying them, it's explaining it, getting feedback on, is that clear, is that not clear? A teacher here, Tasha, is explaining gallery walks because they're about to look at each other's work. They are reviewing each other's work. Okay, that peer review process. Okay, and it's standing up in front. Can I make a video that explains it? Okay, can I make a wall chart that shares my data? Those are the pictures our students collected from the International Space Station. They made a wall display to show where they came from so they could demonstrate they understood latitude and longitude. And we even taught them how to make stories in virtual reality. I didn't want them consuming it. I wanted them making it because virtual reality is a great way to pass on information and communicate. Okay, and so those are the 8 science and engineering skills. Okay. And I hope that helped you kind of start to think. We'll talk about more about where they can fit, but I think we're done with this module. So thanks for joining me. And as we go on, just wanted to say, okay, where does this fit? Okay, we've got our core science ideas. We're still based on those facts, but we want kids doing things with them. Then next, we're in the module 3, we're going to add the layer of what ideas interconnect? What are the concepts that I really want my kids to be modeling, to be explaining, to be in graphics, because there's some interconnected thinking related to science and engineering. Okay, and I take you back to this one, okay, because I want to have you tearing apart the model. So back to T.S. Eliot one more time. Okay, and I'll do this at the end of each model. Take you back to my model and say, you know what? What do you see now? Is there anything else here that, oh, I think I know why that's your model at STEM? Okay, and I'd encourage you to keep doing this because there's a lot of meaning packed in, and not so much, it's more the learning skill of, oh, the more we take kids back to explore things, the more I can take teachers back to explore things. Those are the connections that mean, oh, I might actually remember this. All right, well, thanks for listening. And if you'd like to move on to Module 3, I believe you know how to do it.